In step 63, we had talked about putting epoxy on, and I've already gone and done that here. And I've also gone ahead and painted this part. Depending on what color scheme for your Nike Hercules, some of them, this part is white, some of them it is green. I'm making mine green. So I've put the epoxy on here and it's hardened and you can kind of see it around the edges. And then for painting, I also wanted to mask off this outside edge because this is where it's going to be glued on. And we don't want to put glue on paint if we have the choice. And then on the couplers, I just put masking tape around and I can peel that off. And it's taking a little bit of paper, but that's okay. So I'm going to peel this off and then we'll go ahead and start step 64. Okay, we're on step 64. We're going to take one of these plastic sprues right here, and this is just styrene and it's flat. And from this, we're going to cut off a strip that's 1 3/4 inches long, and we need 3 of these. I'll cut these real quick. Okay, the purpose of these strips, they're going to be glued inside of here. When we made this kit, we found out that this fits too perfect. I mean, it just sticks in there so well. There's a lot of surface area on here that touches the boat tail, and we want it to be a little bit looser so it comes out a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue these strips in here to raise this up just a little bit so that there's less surface touching inside so that it will come apart easier. What we're going to do is we have 3 strips. We need to put those around the perimeter in 3 spots. And it doesn't have to be perfect. What I do is, you see these 4 pads up here. So I'll draw a line like right there in the middle of one, and then I'll go to these 2 and then just go up a little bit off of the sides. So I'm going to glue one here, and then one right there. And for this, I'm just going to drop them in, get them below the tip like that, and then I'm just going to touch a little bit of CA thin and just let it wick down the edge. And that will glue that in there nicely. And I'll do the next one. And this is step 65, is gluing these in. If you need to press it down, use a piece of metal so that you don't put your finger on there. Okay, so step 66, we're going to use medium CA and attach the rail button standoff on one of the solid sides of this transition. So this is a solid side, this is an open side, so I can either do it there or there. The standoff is this piece right here on the plastic sprue. I'll cut that off. I always put my finger on it so that it doesn't go shooting off. You'll notice it's got a pitched side, so like a pitched roof, so it's, there's a high point. That's going to go right in the middle of there. And you want to glue this in 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So I'm going to mark this at 1/8 of an inch. So that's where it's going to go, and it's going to go right there. So I'm going to use some thick CA glue. And press it down really good. Now, if you're building it for display purposes and you're not going to use the rail button, don't glue that on, obviously. Also, here in this step, we want to take this hole and we need to drill it all the way through. So that's a 3/16 inch hole. So I have a 3/16 inch drill bit, and I'll just drill that through. And that's going to be for our weld nut, which is step 67. So let me get that weld nut. Okay, this is the weld nut, and that's going to be glued in here. I first want to test fit just to make sure that it goes in. It goes in just fine. There's going to be a lot of space under there. So make sure that you get some glue, and I'm using thick CA on the post as much as possible because it's the post that's going to be grabbing it. Just like that. And I'm going to use some accelerator just to make sure it stays into place. All right, so that's the weld nut installed. So now we're going to put on the forward rail guides, the ones that were on the booster are here on the bottom. So now we're going to put the ones on the top. We need to use this template that we saved from before. So now we're going to use the forward guide, and we're going to stick that over that rail button right there and take my pencil. And these are going to be glued right here. And from the plastic sprue, it's these two pieces right there. And the part that we're cutting off is the bottom. That's going to have the glue on it. So I want to sand the bottom because that little sprue that I just cut off. So I'm just going to take it, sand it flat. Do both of them. You'll notice that they're not symmetrical. One side is a little bit shorter. So that's going to go towards the outside of the part. So it's going to be glued on like that. All right, so I'm going to take some thick or medium. Either one will work. A little drop on there. Okay, so that's one. That's two. Okay, so those are now glued on, and that was step 68. So now step 69 is from this sheet. We want the angle detail template. So that's this one right here. And so we're going to cut that out, and I've already gone and done that. So this, we're going to put this on the opposite side that we just put these on. So we're just going to flip it over and put this right between these posts right there. Put it up against the edge, the front edge right there. And in that little window, I'm going to mark a little square. This is where another detail is going to be glued on. And the detail for this one, also on the sprue, is this kind of wedge looking shape right here. So I'll put glue on this. And that gets glued right there. Make sure it's straight. Mine looks pretty good. Looks good. That was step 69. We're going to pause here because the next step is to glue this onto the base part. And this is the part that I said before that I painted, and I still have to peel all the tape off. So we're going to get that ready, and then we'll come and we'll glue these together. So that will be in step 70. So I'll be right back.